Hello, it's great to have you with us for this last episode in the InFocus Recouched series.
Oh, that's kind of sad, but we've saved the best for last, of course. Today we'll meet a man who says God preserved him from a major plane crash, and Sue Rad has her clipboard at the ready. It's time for a kitchen audit.
Oh, sounds scary. Let's kick off though by meeting again the very suave and well-groomed Gloucester Mountain Man. Well, we hear a lot in this program from Sue Rad about how your diet and the food you choose can make such an incredibly positive difference in your life and to your health. But who I've got here today is Dr. Darren Morton from the Lifestyle Research Centre, and you're here to tell us, Darren, that there's a bit more to it than food, although food is important.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone, and there's such good information out there, and I think that the likes of Sue is making some fantastic inroads, communicating the importance of positive nutrition for a healthy lifestyle. But what we're discovering is that it's more than just food. There's actually many elements that contribute to these this plethora of chronic diseases that we're witnessing in our society today.
What diabetes?
We're talking
obesity.
about type 2 diabetes, obesity, obviously, heart disease, and many of these other conditions that like even things like osteoporosis and some of these more eclectic conditions, chronic pain now we're starting to see emerge, which is a real concern. But yes, so food...
Even mental health, is it
Oh,
right?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Now, food can play a really big part. In fact, the adage now, we talk about lifestyle as medicine. Yep. And in fact, there's this new wave coming forward where, we talk about lifestyle medicine. There's now the Australasian Lifestyle Medicine Association. There's the American College of Lifestyle Medicine.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is a really exciting thing because what we're discovering is that when you apply therapeutic lifestyle change, and food is just part of that. We are getting to the other parts in just a moment. But when you apply therapeutic lifestyle change to people, even that have these established conditions, often that treatment can be very, very effective for managing.
Okay.
And in some instances, this is where it gets really exciting, some instances even treating these conditions.
Wow, so it's not simply a matter of, hey, live a healthy lifestyle and avoid all these problems.
Yes.
It can also be live a healthy lifestyle and actually maybe even reduce problems you're already struggling with.
Absolutely, and can, like you say, for many years, I mean, we've got a lot of data now that actually indicates that if you live this way, you can live longer, if you practice positive lifestyle choices.
I mean, the Blue Zones research a few years ago, Dan Buettner in the National Geographic, there are places in the world where people live a certain way, where they live, to 100 years and even beyond.
And even beyond. And so, we know, for example, that the studies show very clearly that probably over 80% of heart attacks are preventable through healthy lifestyle choices.
Okay.
Over 90% of type 2 diabetes is preventable through healthy lifestyle choices. Probably a third or more of cancers are preventable through healthy lifestyle choices. But what we've got is this new research coming through, which I find tremendously exciting. That if you apply, and actually when people have these conditions already, practice these healthy lifestyles in quite an intense way, and you can manage, and as I said, in some instances even treat, reverse these conditions. And I'm involved in a program called CHIP, which is the Complete Health Improvement Program.
Yep.
Operates in now 10 countries around the world.
Oh, wow.
And we consistently see stories of people coming into the program and managing or sometimes even reversing their conditions. I think I was just at a CHIP get-together with a group of people last night, and there was a guy by the name of Darren, really nice guy despite the name. He was almost ready for dialysis, kidney dialysis.
Wow.
And this is almost unheard of, but within the space of several months, he actually has restored his kidney function essentially back to normal.
Wow.
He's off all his diabetes medication. He's off his cholesterol medication. He's off his blood pressure medication.
This is in consultation with
his doctor, obviously.
His doctor?
In fact, his doctor, he just 2 weeks into the program, he went to his doctor and he said, "I'm not feeling so good. I'm feeling a bit dizzy." The doctor checks his blood pressure. His blood pressure's too low. Because he's on the medication, so the doctor had to actually take him off the medication to restore it back to normal.
Far out.
So it's very powerful.
Now, Darren, I understand you're a pretty active guy. I remember when I studied at Avondale College, which is where the Lifestyle Research Centre is based,
Yes.
you were well known for getting around in shorts and basically running across the campus, you know, from home to various classes.
Yes.
And this is one of the ways that you actually built an active lifestyle into your everyday work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, look,
is that an important thing to do?
oh, absolutely. So, you know, we talked about those components of, you know, what it constitutes a healthy lifestyle. Nutrition's one of them. Physical activity is obviously another key one. And,
Yeah.
you know, what I want to say about physical activity is that you don't have to go nuts with it to get incredible benefits.
And let me just stop you there, Darren, because Darren knows what it means to go nuts, because he's the current Gloucester Mountain Man champion, which is, how long is that run, that race?
Oh, it's like an adventure race. There's a mountain bike, paddle, and then run.
So sort of a triathlon.
Yeah, an off-road
sort of
triathlon.
event.
Yeah.
Wow. So here they go. Mountain Man speaking. Listen up. Sorry, keep going. I interrupted.
But the point is that we know that if people just engage in, say, 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity a day,
Yeah,
and
which
moderate
means enough to get you puffed?
Well, no, it's not. It's enough that we could still talk while we're doing it.
Oh, wow.
So it's
Okay.
not, you know, gripping your chest,
So it's
tongue hanging
a
out.
brisk walk probably for most
Yeah,
of us.
well, for some people, it's not even that. You know, for some, it would just be a moderate pace walk. If that's enough to notice that, yeah, this would be a 3 to 4 out of 10 in effort for me, then that's moderate intensity.
Wow,
30
okay.
minutes of that a day has a profound effect on people's well-being. We know
Wow.
that the research consistently shows that. So yeah, look, you know, nutrition's important, physical activity is important, but there are a host of other things too. We know, for example, psychological stress. You know,
Okay.
very, very important. There's studies now coming through which are, you know, revealing incredible things. You know, they take dental students and they'll take, this sounds a bit sadistic, but they take dental students and to the top of their hard palate in their mouth, they give them a little blister wound. Right?
Okay.
They do it once just before exam period, and then they do it again in their summer vacation.
Okay.
So stressful
So when they're
time.
stressed in exams and when they're relaxed in
Yes.
their holidays. Okay.
And you know what happens? Those wounds take about 40% longer to heal in the stress-filled time of the exam period.
Wow.
So, you know, we know that how you feel in a very real way affects how you heal.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's psychological stress. That's another important component of managing a healthy lifestyle. We know that social connectedness, you know, this is this ability for people to experience, to give and receive love
Have a
in their
sense
life.
of belonging and
Have a sense of
yeah.
belonging, a sense of meaning, a sense
Help
of identity.
and be helped. Yeah.
Some studies actually indicate that factor is as important as not smoking.
Wow.
So having, you know,
In terms of preventing
yes, absolutely.
lifestyle disease.
Which leads us on to some of the others. You know, there's nutrition, physical activity, stress, social connectedness, substance use, obviously, and we're talking here about smoking and the like. We know that inadequate rest is very important. This is underrated, you know, in our society. I'm talking about sleep there, but I'm also talking about work-life balance.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, our church has the concept of Sabbath, you know, a day off a week. That is profound. You know, that this is there, and it's interesting. These things that we talk about, there's biblical wisdom embedded in, you know, all of them essentially.
Wow.
And the last thing we don't have time to talk about, but is environmental factors.
Yeah.
You know, it's pure air, about sunlight. It's
Yeah.
about engaging with nature. We now know in kids that don't do that, there's a condition we call it NDD, which is nature deficit disorder.
NDD.
You know,
wow.
we know these kids have
Yeah.
high chance of, you know, chronic diseases, socialisation problems, learning difficulties.
Wow. And just getting outside, having some green time, they call it sometimes,
They
don't
do.
they?
Absolutely.
Can make a heck of a lot of difference.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible, Darren. And understand that at Avondale College of Higher Education, you're actually putting together, what is it, a postgraduate
Courses
in lifestyle
so
medicine?
this to me is the new frontier of healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, most people today are suffering or dying from chronic diseases. And so what's the remedy? Well, we've got to go back to the causes. And the causes are poor lifestyle. And so we actually have launched just this semester at Avondale a graduate diploma in lifestyle medicine. We're really, really excited about it. You know, I believe you know, we're trying to play a central role in championing this cause, and I think God sort of is giving it His blessing.
Yeah, wow. That man, Dora, should be on television more. I know he's already one of the key hosts of the CHIP videos.
Yeah.
CHIP as in the Complete Health Improvement Program. But it's not enough. He's smart, he's engaging, and I just love how he lives out his messages of an active lifestyle.
Yeah, very cool. Well, let's give you a chance to get over your little man crush, Kent. We'll take a quick break now. Back soon.
We live our lives running around, rarely stopping to ask ourselves where we're going and what our final destination is. In the end, our lives become little more than routine. Step beyond and discover a path that offers comfort, love and hope. Visit hopeoffer.com/step beyond or call 1300 300 389 for your free copy today.
We're going to start with some soybeans. Use some chickpeas, an onion, we have a teaspoon of salt, slice some tomatoes, slice some cucumber, some red onion just to give it a bit of freshness. So just make little falafels like this. They just smell amazing. Let's make our tahini dressing. Let's get in some tomatoes, cucumbers, some falafels. Drizzle some of this lovely dressing. All you need to do is roll it up and you've got a delicious lunch for your family.
Hi, welcome back. Now, let's take a look at your kitchen. What would you find if you checked through it carefully, and how can you plan your kitchen better for good health?
Good questions, and Sue Rad has answers. Take a look. Well, you've been there. I know I've been there. It's late at night, you're stressed or maybe just bored. What do? You open the fridge, you open the pantry, and you grab something sweet, something salty, something fizzy. It's not good for me, is it, Sue?
It could be detrimental.
It could be detrimental. It's a problem of willpower, isn't it? I mean, how can we just not make those bad food decisions?
Many people think it's a problem of willpower, but the research actually shows that we make more than 200 decisions about what and when we eat on autopilot.
Wow.
Which means it's not about willpower, because most of what we do is not about willpower. It's really about designing our environment to support our health goals. So really, when it comes to health and well-being, we should design the environment.
What do you mean by that? Design
your kitchen, your car, your glove box, your handbag, what's there will determine what you eat and how much you eat.
Okay.
So one of the first things we do at my clinic for people that want to get healthy and live better lives is get them to do a kitchen audit. Okay. We get them to have a look at what's in their pantry, in their fridge, in their freezer, and to make a list of these food items, cross out those that they know they really don't want to eat and remove them. Get them out of the house, out of sight, out of mind.
I have to confess something. So if it was my house, I could tell you how we'd remove them. We'd eat
or
them.
Give them to friends. So that's a really important first step.
Yeah,
Second step is
so step one, get rid of the food that you know isn't good for you. Okay.
That's going to trip you up. Second step is replace it with food that you do want to eat more. So for example, get those whole foods, natural, minimally processed foods in the house and put them at eye level.
Okay.
There was one interesting study that Brian Wansink did, who's a food psychologist, and they got people to swap their fruits and veg from the crisper, put them on the top shelf in their fridge, and put the other foods back into the crisper that are not as healthy. And they found that within just 1 week, people tripled the amount of fruits and vegetables they consumed.
Wow, just from switching shelves around in the fridge.
Supermarkets know this, which is why they have the most profitable items at eye level. So we need to use that bit of advice and implement it at home as well.
There you go, wow.
So whether it's the fridge or the pantry, for example, I put my legumes and whole grains in glass jars at eye level. So when I open that cupboard door, I am prompted to think, what can I cook tonight? Or when was the last time I cooked these black beans, and rotate those choices.
So it's not just about snacking, it's about like cooking a meal as well.
All of that, that's right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And even in our freezer, for example, you can keep things there that would otherwise go into the bin that are super healthy.
Speaking of which, what the dickens is, that is revolting.
It's one of those brown bananas that people often chuck out, throw them into the bin. But what you can do with that, Kent, to reduce food waste is just peel it, break it up into chunks and freeze it. Okay. And later, when you're feeling like it's a hot day and you feel like having some ice cream, puree that up and make a beautiful, creamy, real banana ice cream.
Okay.
Or toss it into a smoothie.
What would you just the banana by itself?
It's amazing how when it freezes up, the texture of the banana lends itself to a creamy gelato type ice cream.
Wow.
So it's about getting rid of the stuff you don't want to eat, replacing it with good, minimally processed natural foods, putting them at eye level or visibly somewhere to prompt you to eat, and decluttering your kitchen, because they've shown cluttered kitchens make people snack twice as often.
Wow.
So cleaning up your environment, doing it all by design, will greatly help you with your health and well-being, rather than just relying on that willpower, which doesn't work.
That's great. Great tips. So there you go, folks. Keep your health at eye level. And yeah, every time you open the kitchen, well, your fridge or your pantry, it'll be staring back at you. Do yourself a favour, have a healthy snack. Thanks so much for your time today, Sue.
Pleasure, Kent.
Some great tips there, and I bet there are a heck of a lot of people out there who have made lifestyle changes, be they big or small, because of something Sue Rad said on a Food in Focus segment. I know I have.
Yeah, she really knows her stuff, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick ad break now. Don't go away. We'll be back in just a sec.
Father, I can't connect the dots through the little that I understand. What words can I say to reach you? How can I know that you are there, listening, hearing, caring? My words are broken, weak, and powerless. But I know your power is limitless. What can I say?
So you think you've got your future all planned out, right? Or maybe you're not sure yet what you want to do, who you want to be, but whatever path you choose to study, a great education matters. Because it doesn't just help you get a great job, it helps you prepare for what life can throw at you and live a great life. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Hi, welcome back. We're going to take a look now at one man's amazing story of escape and the questions it raises about God's protection and God's plan for each of us.
Let's check it out.
Well, it was a tragedy that transfixed the world for quite a while. Germanwings Flight 9525 that went down into a mountain, a deliberate act of the pilot by the look of it, 150 people killed. And today with me in the studio is John Menzies, who could have very easily been on that flight.
Yeah.
So, John, when you got home to the bosom of your family, what was the reaction from them?
Well, probably the reaction occurred long before I got back to the family because we were on business. It was a few weeks before we got back. But yes, it was something that could have turned out completely different, if not for the kind intervention of a stranger. And we were on business in Portugal and Spain and having to make our way to a conference in Germany.
Okay, and obviously Dusseldorf was the eventual destination of that fated flight, and you were also headed there. Now, look, before we do get into that, John, I just wanted to go back, just take you back a little bit, because this has been a bit of a theme for your spiritual life, hasn't it? This sort of brush with death. You were telling me earlier that there was a time in your life where you fell victim to this trend of the outdoors, and golf perhaps is more interesting than church. What was going on there?
Well, I guess I was getting a bit lax in my spiritual life, and my family would go to church on the weekend, and I decided that I enjoyed playing golf more, and so that's what I was doing more regularly than going to church. And obviously God decided there was a strategic intervention that was required and gave me a really good flick in the ear when I was in India.
Which was what? What happened?
Oh, well, I was connecting on another business flight between Delhi and Hyderabad, and then on to Mumbai to fly on to Europe for some research work that I was doing. And we arrived in the domestic lounge, and I accidentally walked outside the terminal instead of catching the bus to the international.
This is in Mumbai,
This is in Mumbai, yeah,
okay.
A domestic. And so a very helpful taxi driver called a taxi, and a taxi came in front of the rest of the queue and jumped in. He
Special
had a
treatment.
Yes, mobile phone in the hand, and he jumps into the taxi. Then off we go down the dark alley. And so he wanted thousands and thousands of rupees for a 200 rupee drive. And of course I'm in travel between destinations. I didn't have the money. And so he was very explicit about what he was going to do to me. So he ended up taking all the money that I had, but not enough for what he wanted. And then another vehicle came in behind us with another 4 men, and I thought, I'm in big trouble. But it was a taxi swap. They moved my bags into the other taxi and then sent me off to the airport. But then the new taxi...
that was kind of them.
Yeah, but they took me down another dark alley.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that that was the end of it, but the taxi driver just got out and wandered out of the back of the taxi, and I thought this was it. They're really going to finish the job. And I started praying. And so that situation, when I got back home after that one, because it really knocked me around, it shook my confidence in my travelling by myself, which I've done for a long time, never had an incident before, and I thought I was going to die. And I started praying, and I thought to myself, well, if golf's more important, why am I praying now? So I went to church for the first time that weekend with my family and got myself saved again. Wow.
So it was a real turning point for you.
Yes, it was.
Incredible. But you did manage, obviously, to keep travelling, because here you are again, just not that long ago, in Europe. So now that we have a little bit of perspective on that, how was it that you came so close to being on that flight, and how was it that you missed it?
Well, like I was saying before, we were in business in Portugal and Spain and having to make our way through to Dusseldorf. Of course, there was a conference in Cologne, and we'd finished our appointments and was connecting from Oporto in Portugal through to Dusseldorf and then onto Dusseldorf. And when we flew into Barcelona from Oporto, we were about an hour lagged, and so we weren't making the connection very well. And we told the ground staff, and they said if we got across to the other terminal, which is quite a distance away, we'd be okay. When we got there, they said the flight's closed, you can't get on. You're on the flight the next morning, which was the doomed flight.
Okay. So you were told at this point, I'm sorry, sir. Yes, you and your colleague were there. Yep. I'm sorry, sir. You're not going to be able to make this flight. You're going to have to wait for tomorrow and fly from Barcelona to Dusseldorf, which was that Germanwings flight 9525 that eventually went down. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm a bit persistent, and and I said, aren't we all rechecked in? Because that was the person who actually made a difference. We were in Oporto, we couldn't check in online. Often they overbook these flights, and if you get there and you're not checked in, and if you're late particularly, you're not going to get on your flight. And a young lady actually went and opened up the Lufthansa office again, and by personal phone got us booked onto that flight. And if she hadn't gone out of her way to do that, then we would not have got onto that flight. We would have been put onto the one the next morning.
Wow.
The interesting thing is that this young lady then reached out by Facebook. I saw Anna was the name, and we'd met with an Anna
after the crash.
Yeah, but this is before we knew there was a crash. We didn't even know there had been a crash, and Anna sent a friend message, and so I thought it was another Anna that was at a research institute that we just visited, and I accepted it. And then this message came through from Anna saying, "John, are you there?" And so from then we've actually been in contact with Anna, and she tells me the reason we connected so well was that being a food scientist, and she loves Australian MasterChef, she put the two together. We had a good old chat about food.
Boy, if you had been on that ill-fated flight that did go down into the mountain, reflecting on that, how did that feel for you, in terms of, it would have been a pretty awful feeling, I imagine.
Yeah, well, it was that evening, my colleague I was travelling with and I was sitting down for dinner, and his wife had just made contact with him, wondering whether he'd been on that flight, so that was pretty traumatic for his family.
Because they knew you were going to Dusseldorf.
Yeah, and they knew we were on a Germanwings flight, and they knew the itinerary, and it was pretty close, because even Anna, the person from Lufthansa, thought we'd been on the flight until she could confirm that we were alive. She'd been in tears all morning. So when we were sitting down for dinner, Ben, the guy I was travelling with, said, "Do you realise that was pretty close, John?" And then we stopped and reflected, and it was sort of like stops you in your track, like what may have been. But for some reason, or not for some reason, I know the reason, there was a calmness that I had that we didn't get into that situation for some reason that God obviously had. But even if I had have ended up being on that flight, then I was still comfortable that my salvation was secure.
Wow. Now, your mate Ben, who doesn't have a particular faith at this stage, he wanted to go into a cathedral and burn a candle. Is that right?
Yeah, the next day we went and visited the Cologne Cathedral, and we got there late, and they were closing it down. So we just got ourselves through in time, and of course it's a beautiful cathedral, and the feeling of reverence and awe is just all over that building.
But not part of your faith tradition particularly,
No.
and as you've told me, he's not particularly religious at all. So,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, there you are.
Yeah, and so can we burn a candle? So we did, and I felt really good.
Wow, incredible. I guess one thing that troubles me a little bit about this, John, is to think, wow, you know, it almost appears, you know, that God stepped in and there's some divine intervention in you not being on that plane. It so very easily could have happened. But then I think of the 150 people who did perish on, you know, Germanwings 9525. Can you make any sense of, you know, why you and not them?
It's something you can never make sense of, and it's something that makes you feel very sad. And because you have all these intense feelings yourself after a situation like that, you know that all of those families must have gone through that in bucket loads because they actually lost their loved ones. There's many things that happen in this world that there's no reason for, and a lot of people like to say it's God's fault. But what people forget, there's a devil out there too doing his work.
True.
And we don't know why some people are saved and some people aren't. Some people die, some people live. But that's what God knows, because he knows the beginning from the end. And so maybe there's something that Ben and I still have to do in this life that God has planned for us.
Well, it's confronting stuff, but thanks so much for being here, John, to share your story. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you go, Dora. It's an incredible and thought-provoking story, isn't it?
Yeah, and I get why he's thanking God, but it still makes me wonder, you know, what was God's plan for the rest of those people who didn't miraculously change planes?
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? There are no easy answers to questions like that. Look, I believe there are answers in the end, but definitely not easy ones.
Fair enough. Well, that brings us to the end of this season of InFocus Recouched. It doesn't have to be the end for you, however. All the episodes, all the interviews and all the other segments are there at our website for you to check out anytime you like.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us for this series. It's been great. All the best for the coming week. Until we see you again, God bless.
Goodbye.
When that gate opens, this could be your last and final ride. You could get stomped on, hurt, or killed. That's the danger and the thrill of bull riding. But let me tell you, there is nothing like an 8-second ride. Getting on the back of a bull ready to ride, sweat runs down your back, your heart's pumping. You feel nervous, you always do. I don't know a bull rider who doesn't. You have to be totally committed to ride. Bull riding is not a game. You can't ride a bull half-hearted. It's all or it's nothing.
To receive a free DVD of the documentary Beyond Talk, visit hopeofit.com/talk or call 1300 300 389.